Welcome to Inside the Studio, KFIZ at 100. Conversations with some of the station's biggest and brightest all-time personalities. I'm your host, former KFIZ Program Director Sean Kaiser. This episode features former KFIZ Sports Director Chuck Freimund. Chuck's life changed when he was just 13 years old and attended a Bucks game with his dad at the old Milwaukee Arena. He wasn't as excited about the play on the court as he was press row located courtside.
I went up to my seat. We watched the game, and all I could think about was, wow, I'd love to have those free seats every night and the free food, I guess, that came. I learned later that came around with it. So I wasn't going to wait till after college. I started calling radio stations on Monday morning because this game was Friday night. And I told my dad I found a station in Waukesha that needs someone to cover games for $10 a game. This was 1981.
And alas, a career was born. Chuck continued to cover pro sports as a youngster, eventually went to college, and then landed a full-time gig at the state's first all-sports station, WAUK, in the Milwaukee market.
The early days of sports talk where there's no cell phones, there's no emails, there's no texting and all that. So you're relying from 1 to 5 in the afternoon from people calling from their home or their work or whatever on hard phone lines. And that was tough, especially when you're first starting out. You don't have any listeners.
In 1996, KFIZ found itself in need of a new sports voice after Greg Stensland and Tom Biolo left to pursue other opportunities. Chuck was quick to apply and landed the gig.
I loved it. I worked a split shift. I did the early morning sportscast on with Jerry St. John in his morning show there from 5:30 till 8:30, and then I'd come back and do a talk show in the later on, a sports talk show.
Loyal listeners to his Sportsline program became known as Freimund Fanatics, and a T-shirt with a caricature of Chuck on it was even created and sold in the community. But it was covering local sports Chuck enjoyed the most.
I would go out and interview the coaches and did play-by-play, and main play-by-play roles were the Fond du Lac football and basketball teams, and they had great runs, especially the basketball team. A lot of nights at gymnasiums in Oshkosh and Appleton, and the old Greenwich High School, and Fond du Lac, and of course, legendary Fruit Field.
Arguably the biggest game he called in his KFIZ career, the historic Division I Boys Baseball State Championship in 2000.
The kid Fisher pitched the no-hitter in the championship game. He was the number 3 starter. It was fantastic. Marty Paulson, who just retired, won a state championship, and I remember staying up all night, partying, going to Marty's house, and Fond du Lac won a state championship in baseball. Maybe the greatest sports moment in Fond du Lac history.
For someone who's worked in all the state's largest markets, Chuck says his time at KFIZ ranks as his favorite.
A terrific 10 years of my life. Had a fun time, and 10 years at one radio station is a long time in this business. KFIZ is one of the great radio stations in our country. 100 years, legendary. You talk to anybody around the state, and I've been everywhere. Everybody knows KFIZ, those call letters.
Listeners of KFIZ can still catch Chuck Freimund on its airwaves as he hosts Football Friday Night and is also part of the Wisconsin Badgers football broadcasts. Thanks for joining us, and keep listening for more episodes of Inside the Studio, KFIZ at 100.